Some of the things I'm going to say in this video may be poorly received by some people. I'm essentially going to be pointing out lies, hypocrisies, and fallacies perpetuated by advanced lifters. I believe that there's no malevolent intent behind these and that the actions of many advanced lifters are with newer lifters' best interests in mind. Nonetheless, these things we are about to discuss should be known to the newer lifting population, so that you won't fall for them. We will start with the easiest one to talk about, which is something I've heard basement bodybuilding talk about extensively. The idea that a new lifter should just focus on the compounds is short-sighted, because it leaves out a lot of important work for getting stronger and bigger in the long term, neglecting seemingly minor muscle groups like the arms, the side and rear delts, the abs, and the calves, and others is not only for a recipe for a physique which is somewhat underwhelming, but a physique which may find itself with imbalances and frequent aches and pains. Even if your goal is max strength on the big three, or something similar, things like curls do serve a purpose. In that instance, the curl serves to strengthen your elbow flexors and ligaments, which help to stabilize the bench press. Without curling, you may find that you'll get pain in your elbows and triceps, and even shoulders and pecs. Likewise, a weak rear delt and rotator cuff can make your shoulders a huge problem area. So if you want a balanced and aesthetic physique, which is more injury resistant, don't just focus on the compounds. Compounds will put a lot of mass on your frame, but it's the isolations and secondary exercises that complete it and make it more durable. Advanced lifters themselves also make use of these other movements to complete their physique and fix strength imbalances. So why should a new lifter be told to avoid them, when instead they could be building familiarity and experience with their programming? The second lie is that all novices should follow a highly strict and regimented program. Novices and newer lifters should have a program, preferably one they make themselves, but I believe that they should also build up the ability to auto-regulate, that is, to control their own training on the fly. Allowing a novice to play around with exercises, techniques, set and rep schemes will teach valuable lessons about how to train and what gets results. It also encourages learning more about programming and becoming a more intelligent lifter that can carve their own way towards further advancements. But most importantly, this kind of experimentation instills a love for training, which I believe is the most important factor necessary for consistency in the gym. If you don't learn to love training, you'll give up on it in maybe just a few years or less. Now, I do believe that there are limits to this. A new trainee shouldn't have what's often called training ADHD, where they'll switch exercises and programs with a frequency that is detrimental to their progress. Rather, I desire that on occasion, the new lifter shows some curiosity and stops to think about their training and their enjoyment. So to you newer lifters out there, don't be afraid to deviate from the program occasionally if you want to experiment. It will teach you a valuable lesson that can only help you in the future. The third lie is often perpetuated by older lifters, and I don't blame them for this in the slightest. They'll often claim that XYZ exercise is dangerous, or you shouldn't do XYZ exercise to a certain depth, or something akin to that. In the time before the internet natty community and well-understood training principles, people had to train on their own, and because of that, they would often lift more weight than they could handle for more range of motion than they were ready for, or otherwise have bad form habits which make exercises have the potential to be more dangerous. Often these older lifters got snapped up, and instead of taking personal responsibility for a mistake that they made in their own training, they blamed the exercise that supposedly snapped them up in the first place. When you listen to serious lifters who have a strong understanding of training as an art and a science, they'll tell you that there's almost never such a thing as a freak accident. When you get injured, provided you have a grasp on the training that you were doing, you will know why your body was allowed to become so fatigued in the first place as to snap you up. Nobody tears a pec on accident, nobody tears a bicep on accident, nobody tears their labrum of their shoulder or their hip on accident, and nobody gets crippling tendinitis on accident. You were either not doing something you should have been doing, such as fixing weaknesses and imbalances or ensuring rep quality, or you were doing too much of something, too much frequency, too much volume, too much weight, too much fatigue. All of these things contribute. If you're a newer lifter and are without injury, I believe it's possible to have a lifting career which avoids major injury completely, provided your approach to training is analytical and with prudence and understanding. So don't listen to people who say, this exercise will snap you up unless it is a blatantly stupid exercise. Do exercises which feel smooth, control your programming, control the weight, and you will be okay. The fourth lie is about what everybody needs to do. If you ask many advanced lifters, many will tell you you need to back squat to get big legs, you need to bench press to have a big chest, and you need to do XYZ for ABC. Quite frankly, I found this idea of needing to do something to be untrue. In fitness, there are many ways to skin a cat, so to speak, and I'll give you a prime example. Is someone who does running going to get better cardio results compared to someone who does their cardio with cycling? What about using a rowing machine? If you understand what's actually being trained whenever you do a given action, you'll quickly understand why there's so much variance in how to get results. In the case of the cardio question, every one of those options will increase cardio capacity of the user because they tax the heart, they tax the lungs, and they challenge the energy systems in your body to become more endurant. Likewise, with muscle training, you don't need to back squat to get big legs. You only need to train your legs. You can do front squats, hack squats, behind the back deadlifts, leg presses, leg extensions, lunges, split squats, sissy squats, and all kinds of other variations which will build your legs. And this applies to every muscle in your body, and as far as I'm aware, every capacity of the human body that is possible to train. What all of these lies have in common is that they have a grain of truth to them. Compound movements really do build much of your physique. New lifters generally should follow a fairly regular routine, you should be careful not to injure yourself, and you should listen to proven methods. What you need to understand is that you can learn a lot from advanced lifters. In fact, if you are going to learn from anyone, I recommend spending time listening to the strongest and most jacked people, and especially coaches. But their word isn't law. I'll give you an example I found funny. I've never been a starting strength guy, but there's a post from Mark Ripito on the starting strength forums saying that front squats are useless, and if you want to squat properly, it's with the bar on your back, nothing else, because otherwise you can't use your hips. Mark is a strong guy and a fairly well-respected coach, but should you take his word as gospel? No, of course not. So those are some of the lies I've noticed advanced lifters will tell newer lifters on forums or in comment sections. If you have any experiences with lies or hypocrisies which are touted by advanced lifters, share them in the comments. Like the video if you found it helpful. Take care, train hard, and have a great day.